Another season, another batch of pretty cool albums to check out. Like last time, we had some neat ones, sure, but I feel like we're really getting to the swing of things with some of these, and I'm excited to see what else the year delivers. Anyways, might as well dive right in. This is Album Impressions. Shout out to Liz at G. So what we've got here is a pretty cool emo and sort of post-hardcore, but not quite album, with a huge math rock slant to it and a consistently jazzy undertone driven home by the saxophone that wails throughout. I mean, I guess that's one way to describe it, but the Spirited Spirits don't really neatly slot into a sound, and I think that's why this album is as compelling as it is. There's moments of delicate beauty, fun grooves, and some intense climaxes scattered throughout the non-linear song structures, and over the course of its 40-minute runtime, there's an arc, a journey taking place. To space, mostly. Kind of. The lyrics seem to be a post-breakup reflection filtered through a lot of spacey imagery, and while it's all a bit too abstract to quite do it for me, the angst and heartbreak is sold on the musical and vocal delivery alone, so like, yeah. I feel like I'm still gonna need a bit more time to sit on this one, but it's one of the more intriguing emo records I've heard in some time, and definitely worth looking into yourself. Enduring Reverie are, Christian metal band, which, yeah, I'm annoyed too, but like, the music wins me over here, man. Pieces of prog metal, post metal, and death metal with flourishes of weirdness, a focus on killer angular riffs and tight grooves, with the occasional off-kilter and ominous quiet moments in between. It's a lot of sounds I dig, even if it does trend towards the sluggish, and it can begin to run together over the course of its nearly hour-long runtime. Lyrically, it's, well, honestly, the Jesus God worship prayer lyrics are so thinly sketched and kinda meaningless that I'm not that bothered by them, and they're barely discernible anyways. If not for actually looking at the lyric sheet, I honestly would have never known. I dig the tunes enough to still enjoy this front to back, and the album cover is beautiful as all hell too. Maybe not the best or most exciting metal of the year, but it's a sound that's right up my alley, so to hell with it. Hello again, Russian hardcore that breaks the font I use for album impressions. It's been a bit, and like, yeah, I can't help but mentally compare this to Bagdadsky Vor, even though the two are very different acts. Grottoes is less intense and up-tempo, and with less of the math rock edge and twinkly guitars, a lot more straightforward post-hardcore and screamo, but importantly, no less melodic for it. Songs that are straightforward, but with killer riffs and soaring vocal lines interspersed with the screams. It's the kind of hardcore I gravitate towards most, where my only real gripe is, again, how dang short it is. Even from what I can make out of the lyrics via translating, I like a lot, painting pictures of the natural beauty of the world contrasted with the death war inflicts upon it and the loneliness of it all. Given the state of the world over the past few years, it's easy to imagine why a Russian hardcore band would be writing about this specifically, yeah. It's a brief but powerful listen and one I'm definitely gonna be coming back to. Man, I'm glad I don't force a minimum word count for these album impressions because there's not a ton to say about this one. I just think y'all should know about it because it's neat, smiley face. A very heavy breed of progressive metal with both black and death metal elements while still retaining a melodic and often very groovy edge over its hour-long runtime. Basically has the same guitar tones and blend of dissonant and epic riffing as all my other heavy prog metal faves over the years. Not sure the sound is, particularly unique, but I was just immediately struck by how damn good this thing sounds, and it's the kind of junk food prog metal I could come back to time and time again and never get tired of. Just remarkably solid stuff. On my stupid hardcore nonsense again. Let's go, gamers! Yeah! What we've got here is like, okay, so elevator pitch. What if Nine Inch Nails were a 2000s metalcore band? At least, that's what I get from this. Lots of industrial tones and the, for lack of a better word, edginess of Nin, paired with abrasive and angular guitar riffs and even some degree of mathcore technicality at times, and the end result is surprisingly fun, actually. Dumb fun, to be sure, but some of these tunes are hella danceable. And even when they're not, they go hard, so what's not to love? It's definitely not the deepest listen, no lyric sheet here, but I can't imagine I'd find anything world-changing even if I had one. It's not the kind of music you really meant to think too hard about, just rock along to, you know? Maybe a bit of a novelty, but what I'm definitely on board with. There's so much I would change. Take more pictures. Gearing up for the coming hot emo summer, Halt Mulligan are back with another slice of pop punk for the masses, and it's, yeah, this is the good stuff. Feels pulled straight from the 2000s with its less polished, more textured guitars, high energy, and often uncompromised, uncommercial structures. Granted, in some ways that may be a weakness, as I feel across the album the hooks don't really emerge as strongly as I'd like, but it's a nitpick on a rock solid, if not particularly original sound. But where this really lands is in the content, that specific breed of late 20s millennial lyricism where you realize you've grown past any semblance of your youth, seeing everything everything you used to love and hold dear pass away or fade into memory as you watch yourself become the worst versions of your parents and wonder if there's any hope for you left. It's, a lot, and Hot Mulligan don't really provide any answers beyond the acknowledgement of that anxiety, but it definitely hits me hard as someone entering my 30s, man. Not the absolute best I've heard in this lane, but it's absolutely worth taking a look at. Holy hell, now this is what I've been waiting for. Jesus Christ. Victory Over the Sun is a one-woman avant-garde black metal act previously known for dissonant compositions and odd tunings, in the vein of Jude Guy, but Dancing Monster sees her breaking into a much more colorful spectrum of sounds in a more progressive style. From almost shoegaze prettiness to crushing extreme doom metal sludginess to unhinged chaotic riffing and pretty much everything in between. And it's a journey and a half, man. I swear, every type of black metal under the sun gets played with at some point, and with the excellent guitar tones and a beautifully balanced mix, the entire album just sounds excellent front to back while always keeping you on your toes. The writing is a bit abstract, mostly seeming to be colored by a sense of existential dread, though it firmly takes a backseat to the compositions, which are emotionally evocative enough to capture that enormity through sound alone, so that the words themselves hardly have to carry that burden. It's just, I don't know, I haven't been immediately blown away by an album like this in ages. It's so goddamn cool, man. Pride Month is going swell, if Gay Mathcore has anything to say about it. I don't remember being wild for People Slasher's 2021 debut, but this one more immediately caught my ear. Maybe because I'm just craving the angrier sides of hardcore lately, but... And Blossom has that brand of riff-driven mathcore with the wild, unhinged moments we all know and love, but with a bit more structure, a bit more shape to their songs. And as the album goes on, the gray tones blossom into a more colorful palette, with some surprisingly poppy and beautiful moments in the last few songs here, which does kind of fit with the content here. An underlying theme of transhumanism and death and rebirth, albeit kind of vaguely so. Supposedly there's some space opera concept here that's not quite coming through in the kind of impenetrable lyrics, but at least has to be curious if nothing else. That's kind of how I feel about this one as a whole. I find it interesting, even if I'm not quite yet sure I can say I love it, but it is a pretty cool listen that's worth at least checking out for yourself. Holy hell is Weird Black Metal having a good year. Band whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce is acting with possibly the ugliest, most dissonant black metal of the year, and it's terrifying in all the best ways, man. Twisted, unhinged compositions, furious and aggressive riffing, tons of moments of disturbed atmosphere and ambience. Even some progressive touches thrown in for good measure, a great buzzsaw guitar tone that helps drive their leads, as off-kilter and atonal as they tend to be, surprisingly clean and crisp production that doesn't sacrifice the lo-fi, noisy edge underlining black metal at its core, and a sense of constant motion that keeps out from ever getting stale. It's certainly a bit on the impenetrable side, and I'm definitely gonna need more spins to really unpack it, and it's maybe a bit too off-putting even for my taste, but damn if it isn't at least a fascinating find all the same. Who would win in a fight, Crow or the 2+ hour long space-themed black metal album? Like, it's almost comical how easy a mark I am for these kind of releases. I've actually known of Isak Trillium for a while, and had checked them out in the past and kind of written them off as their style of black and death metal really never did much for me. Well, turns out they've been getting more black metal over the years, culminating in what can really only be described as deathened black metal. The death metal riffing and even some of their production style is still there, but this is clearly black metal first and foremost. Pair that with the constant intrusions of synth strings and grandiose organs, and the end result is an absolutely massive 3-disc album that's just delightful to get lost in. Maybe not as refined as Midnight Odyssey or as purely atmospheric as Paysage d'Hiver, but with an intensity and dynamic style that keeps it engaging the whole way through. And damn it just sounds good, man. A lot here to digest, but this is one I'm definitely gonna be coming back to all throughout the year, I can tell. 'Cause for your love, I'll take my time. My first reaction to this album is, oh yeah, Janelle really liked Renaissance, didn't they? Like, both Beyonce and Janelle carry themselves really similarly on their albums. Both are dance and R&B albums that flow together seamlessly start to finish, but I mean, they're very different beasts too. Where the Age of Pleasure sound palette was a lot more tropical, pulling a lot more from dancehall, Afrobeats, and even reggae. And while Renaissance was packed to the brim with Beyonce providing queer empowerment, the Age of Pleasure just sees Janelle being, you know, queer as heck, and more overtly sexual, and proud of it. It's an album about queer euphoria, about just being yourself and not giving a damn about what anyone else thinks. Hell yeah. The tunes themselves, the grooves, the vocal leads, the way the whole album flows, they're all quite good too. Not gonna say I like this as much as Renaissance, it's a bit short and the styles aren't quite as much up my alley, but it's still a damn fun listen, and I'm glad Janelle isn't just repeating themselves ad infinitum. After all, a wheel eternally spinning in place is the opposite of progress, you know? Oh, did you ever love a woman with a death
Something in her eyes like flipping off a light switch.
I have conflicted thoughts on this one, and don't get me wrong, it's good. It's really good, but writing-wise, I don't know if Jason Isbell project's ever been stronger. Literally, haven't heard all of them, but I mean, there's a persistent theme of loss across the album, whether it be love or loved ones or hell, just people Isbell used to know way back when. A lot of personal details infused into these songs in a way that gives them potency, and the tunes are as strong as ever. Melodically rich, consistently strong hooks, lush guitars, and just compelling arrangements. But, well, I'm used to 400-unit albums having a bit more of a rock edge to them, whereas Weather Vanes is primarily country and even folk at times, and the rock that does show up is rather down-tempo, languid. And while the themes themselves are emotionally compelling, I feel like no real resolution is reached, even in the big finale at the end. It's kind of a dirge of a listen, not helped by its crushing length. God, this thing goes on. Again, I like it, I'm just not sure I'm gonna want to keep coming back to it.
Her wedding dress was sold from the semen she spelled into.
Listening to Home is Where's the Whaler makes me anxious and uneasy, crushed by the enormity of how messed up the world we live in is. I'm not sure if it's like the album itself doing that, or if that's just how I always feel, but like, that is what the album's about. How normalized we all are to the death all around us. Whether it be family, friends, even people we've never met, we're supposed to just go on with our lives and smile through it all like we don't feel anything. Because people are not but good workers to the capitalist swine burning our planet down, and it sucks and I hate it. Not the album, which is really friggin' good if you can't tell. A bit abstract in its writing and imagery, but it's still painfully clear what message it's trying to convey. And the folky breed of punk and hardcore is as unhinged and unpredictable as life itself, while never completely falling off the edge of tunefulness or emotional potency. I don't know, man. I'm smelling a whiff of something I'm gonna remember for years to come. Or maybe just a rotting whale corpse. Man, that's a down out of 10 this episode on, isn't it? Well, in spite of all that, I hope y'all take care, and I'll be seeing you in a few months when the next episode drops. Till then, stay safe, please.